Hello there, I'm Toby, and today's book review is Raising Hare by Chloe Dalton. I read it in one sitting, read it in one day, really enjoyed it. It was written during the COVID pandemic when everyone was stuck at home. And I remember thinking to myself at that time, because my imagination really took a nosedive around that time. I couldn't think of any stories, couldn't think of any good ideas. I did wonder, is anybody out there writing like a masterpiece of a movie, like a genius movie that's going to come out? And I'm still not sure I've seen that movie yet, so I don't think they were. But this book was written during the pandemic, and it's excellent. I'd give it 5 out of 5. It's that good. So somebody was obviously doing something good. So basically, I forget the exact job title of this woman, but she was Chloe. She was a political journalist or something. But she was a very high pressure job. She travelled to dangerous war torn countries all over and worked incredibly hard. Didn't have time for socialising or much home time. She was always travelling out and about, working hard, hitting deadlines. But obviously, the pandemic struck and she was stuck at home like everybody was. And she had a getaway home in the countryside, I think, which she decided to stay at during the pandemic. Anyway, one day she was out for a walk and heard a commotion, a dog barking and whatnot. And she found a 2 day, well, she didn't know at the time, but it was a very young hare, which I just learned from reading the book. A baby hare or a hare in its first year of life is called a leveret. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but a leveret. I'll call it a hare because I don't want to mispronounce the word, but she refers to it as a leveret throughout the book. Anyway, she decides maybe she just leave it there, maybe it will come by itself, or maybe its mother's nearby. But in the end, she decides to take it home, and from there on, you get the first inkling that this is not a pet rabbit type situation. It's easy to mistake a hare and a rabbit. We all probably know a lot about rabbits. We have pets, the rabbits, and we see rabbits in movies and stuff all the time. But hares are very different. They're much larger creatures. They don't like to be handled. They're not tame at all. They're wild animals. And anyway, she takes this baby home and starts looking after it. Now, the book is divided into two sections. The first section is about the baby, the life of her raising the baby, and the second stage is the life of the. Did I call it a rabbit? It's a hare. The hare is a adult. So on taking it home, she has all the problems of giving it shelter, bedding, food. She has to do loads of research on hares because it's not like a pet that you could just refer back to other people who've had that pet. It's a unique situation. She also didn't know really what the problem was with the hare, why it was unwell. So she didn't know how to best look after it. She got some advice from vets and whatnot, but they weren't too sure either. So she decided just to let nature take its course and give it a nice home and feed it milk. But apart from that, just sort of let nature take its course. And the hare did become stronger over time, and uh, she began letting it roam around more. She built it at this. She firstly just homed it in like a shoebox with grass and stuff in it, and it liked that. But then she put one of the walls down so it could get out. And then she sort of like had this whole like rabbit run playpen type thing built, and the hare absolutely hated that and like tried to smash its way out. Apparently, if you put hares in cages, they can kill themselves trying to get out. Really, they're not used to being handled. They're not used to being um, caged, so they'll like break their neck trying to smash their way out and things like that. So she got rid of that because it didn't work, and so she just let it roam around the house really and gave it freedom, and it quickly built up a routine. It was really interesting the way they described how animals are so predictable, and there's a lot of metaphors for humans as well. We don't. She talks about anthropomorphizing animals to make them feel like humans, but you can see a lot of things in the animal world that relate back to humans, like routine. Like these animals, you can set your watch by them. They'll turn up at the same place every day. It's a bit like us, really. I mean, if you left to your own accord, you end up at work at the same time. You go to bed about the same time. We're all very predictable, really, in our habits. Now, as the hair got bigger and bigger, it started to explore more, and she began letting it out into the garden. Into she had like a inner garden in her house, like a gate that led into a larger area of land. So she started letting it out into the inner garden. She was worried about obviously germs and bugs and poisons and predators, but let it start exploring, and it would go out by itself and get into a routine. She never like picked it up and played with it unless it was necessary to feed it and stuff like that. But she just let it do its own thing, which is the best thing to do really for a wild animal. She didn't want to make it tame and a pet because she hoped that it would one day be free again. Anyway, she had to start experimenting with different foods because no longer just have milk. So she tested out these different foods to see what the hare would eat, and she just let it eat what it wanted, and then didn't try the other stuff again. And then eventually, apparently they can jump like 2 meters when they're fully grown, but it eventually got up to the garden wall and peered out and began looking out, thinking, I wouldn't mind checking that out. And she was quite anxious about that, thinking maybe it would never return, maybe it would get killed straight away. But she just decided to let nature take its course again. And the hare eventually did start exploring the fields and the surrounding woodlands around it. But she was very pleased when it came back again. She left the gate open, or it jumped back over the wall and came back to her house. So it was like a sort of a cat, like it would go out at night and do its thing and then come back to the house in the daytime. All this time, of course, she was just like working from home, and like a lot of people were during the COVID pandemic, and it would just sort of sit down while she was working, sleep under the bed and stuff, because they're nocturnal animals, because it helps them to avoid predators. So during the daytime it was around the house, and at night it would start going out more and more. It would pop off, like there was times when she thought it's not coming back now, because it would not come back for the night, and then longer periods of time, like 2 weeks, she wouldn't see the hare. She got all cameras set up and stuff so she could like study it, and she started to really care about the hare and become connected to its life. And she said how it changed her life, because she was so used to rushing around, and she was learning from the hare just to like relax and enjoy the little things. She talked about how the the hare had meticulous hygiene and cleanliness around it, how it was so peaceful and gentle, and also the athleticism of these animals. Like for its size, they're faster than a cheetah, because they can like cover their own body length like 200 times a second or something, whereas a cheetah can only do like 40. So remarkably faster than a cheetah for size, but obviously cheetah would beat it in a race. And then we move on to the sort of the second stage of the book. Oh, but she had like visitors around. It was really comfortable around her. It was quite a rare situation, because she'd have visitors around and it would just scarp her as soon as they came. I didn't want to be anywhere near them, but it was quite comfortable, and her presence felt safe. So it must have an incredible sense of smell, or maybe she just had a peaceful vibe or something. I don't know. But then the second half of the book arrives, and the hare is fully grown now and is having its own adventures. A couple of times comes back injured, and then I'm sorry for the music. There's a festival going down the road. I don't get copyrighted. There's like it comes back and it's been mixing with other rabbits, and she finally realizes that when it has its own litter, so it's become full circle now, and is now a mother itself. And that's the only way she can find out it's a female, because male and female hares are very similar, same size and color and stuff. Anyway, this letter is all males, and they she doesn't let them in the house. But she monitors them in the garden. She like raises these things, but they actually go off looking for freedom. So she never sees them again. But the hare, then has another litter later on in the book, and they do stick around. They start exploring the house as well, and it's interesting. If you're interested in child psychology, I'm a teacher, so it's interesting like how they have that urge for freedom. When they get to a certain age, these hares start wanting to take off. They start being more need more discipline. They challenge the adults more. What they want to be on their own. They want to be with other young hares. So it's just helps you understand nature more, and she really keeps describing this experience she's having with the hares, because she never knows when they're going to die or not come back, or just never see them again. So she describes it as like being a gift from nature. And then when we think about how nature's a gift, it's just started raining outside now, but just all the leaves and the greens, we've got so much to explore and enjoy, the way the hares enjoy and explore nature as well. Anyway, so one of these baby hares is a male, and he's quite a bit more rambunctious and physical, I suppose the word. And the other one's female, and one of the leverettes, a little rabbit, she dies, and sadly she can't figure out why it died. It just did. Maybe it was just weakened, not eating well, or maybe it was poisoned by something it ate, or maybe it got some injury. We just don't know, and she never finds out, which is sad. Anyway, the sort of book ends with her talking about how this experience she's had with this hare has completely changed her life, and she's now appreciates nature and now studies nature a great deal and spends time in nature, and it's like a gift from the heavens almost, that because the hares don't live very long, maybe 3 or 4 years in the wild. Like it says one quote in the book where it says no wild animal ever dies of old age. There's always something. It's just a matter of how long they can stave off nature. And that teaches you to like really appreciate each day and enjoy the life as best you can while it's still going. Um, yeah, there's also loads of fascinating facts about hares. I've never been interested in hares, but it's just remarkable that they're even still here. Like the number of predators that are after them, including humans who've been killing them for centuries. They're so resilient. They're still around, and they can multiply at such speed. One of the interesting facts is that a hare can conceive a litter of babies while being pregnant. So there can be like two litters in the mother rabbit at the same time, and like she gives birth, and then there's still that other litter waiting to be born. It's crazy. There's a lot of debate about that, but there's definitely cases of that happening. There's a couple of other species as well, I think, that can do that. But yeah, fascinating animal, fascinating read, really well written, fantastic language, excellent narrative devices, just really well written, and a fantastic book. Highly recommend it. It's quite short. You can read it in a day. Great holiday read if you're off work or going somewhere interesting, especially if you're out in nature. You really enjoy it then. But brilliant book. Highly recommend. Check out Raising Hare by Chloe Dalton. Have a great day.